Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Stacy Sloan with Keller Williams Elite Realty, proudly serving the Durham and Triangle area for 25 years. Call Stacy at 919-972-1180. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Rachel Z with Rachel Z Real Estate Team Realty. From the Triangle to the Triad, call Rachel Z at 919-323-6068. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Orange Hammer Podcast. I'm here with Carolyn J. Hickey Levy. Did I get it right? Levy. Okay. Carolyn J. Hickey Levy. And primarily, I would say you're an interior designer for Flooring by Design.
I am.
Right. And we met at a B&I.
Correct.
In Bumsville. No, I'm just kidding. It
was way out there.
It was really out there.
It was way out there.
Some gun club in Franklin County.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we were the only 2 people from Durham.
We were the only 2 people from Durham.
Which was our immediate oh, Durham, what's up? And that I feel like that was enough.
Yes.
That was all the spark that was required.
But
then
I think you were wearing orange too.
Yeah, I'm always wearing orange. Yeah. Or I had an orange logo
color.
or something.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I brought my boy Glenn, who actually designs my he embroiders my clothes and stuff.
Nice gear.
Yeah.
Nice gear, Glenn.
Exactly. Shout out to Glenn Kantz, Merch Mania. But beyond both being from Durham, we really needed each other because my interior designer up until seconds ago was my mother. And when we're not doing one of the houses that I've talked about a bunch that we buy, we reno, and we rent out, she's not just going to do design stuff for me for because regular other clients. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have still employed her to get paid to do designing for some kitchens just because that is something she is particularly good at. But very rapidly, and even now for that matter, I need a local designer where I can just, when a client calls me but really needs a design that's finalized before I can give them a price, they need a real designer. And that's not necessarily the same as a draftsman or an architect.
Correct.
So we all work together a lot of times.
Absolutely.
But a lot of times it can be confusing about who you actually need at what stage you're doing, I guess some examples for listeners, if you're doing a kitchen remodel, architect useless, not really going to help. Your walls aren't changing.
Right.
Even if you're blowing out one non-load bearing wall, you don't need an architect to figure that out.
You don't.
You really need a designer,
Yes.
someone to discuss the functionality of, okay, maybe the dishwasher should be on this side of the cabinet because when you empty it, you want to put the cups there. Maybe the island should be closer or further, should be bigger or smaller. Everybody wants to go as big as possible, but you got to think about moving inside the space. And, that's
so key to
right.
the first design conversation as to how you want your kitchen to properly work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would say arguably the part that people think about the most when they think about a designer is arguably the easiest part, which is picking like the actual color and finish, making it look pretty.
Yes.
That's more of tell me the colors you like, tell me what you want as your accent. Orange is my favorite, but as I've grown up, it's moved from the primary to the accent, but it's still there, very much involved. My couch cushions used to be orange. Now they're gray, and my throw pillows on top are orange. It's just, I've matured a little bit, but I could never get rid of the orange. But that's a very simple conversation for you to have with me, or let's use a fictional client. But like you very correctly mentioned, how you want to function inside of the space, nobody knows that but you. And nobody really know. And then they know it, but they don't know how to implement it. So the difference between a clean cut, small, modern European kitchen or a giant I'm hosting with a chef style open situation hosting barbecues, those are drastically different kitchens.
Yes.
And there's really only a deep dive discussion to figure that out. Yeah. So I was super intrigued by your showroom. It's very cool.
Thank you.
It's Roxborough Road? North Roxborough.
It's been around for a very long time. We've been in that location for 30 plus years.
Oh, I had no idea it was
and
that
have
old.
Expanded over the years. It was a much smaller building before.
You guys must have gone back. It looked newer.
We went forward.
Oh, okay. So you kind of built the front that we see now.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yes. Gotcha. And I was super intrigued that you purposely have things kind of laid out basically by price point. Like if you still need a cabinet in your kitchen, but you're very aware that there are multiple price points for customers, and it does not make sense to woo somebody with a top-end cabinet that they could never afford when you could just as easily show them the second level or the third level down. Correct. And just be like, this is absolutely in your price range. Let's get excited about it.
Yes.
And that, I think, is just in general a huge attractive quality I found in y'all's operation. And that went across the board from tiles to cabinets to countertops, flooring. And that was super appealing, because I know for a fact that there are customers that have, for lack of a better word, been duped by like a bait and switch kind of situation, especially in countertops.
Yes. We really want to be able to serve everybody's needs and wants and desires when it comes to their home, because let's face it, I mean, that's your most important space that really elevates you. So we want to be able to produce and provide something wonderful for everyone, no matter where they are at in their budget.
Yeah. There's you can work with every budget. There's
Yes.
There's a product there.
Yes.
You can figure it out.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Obviously, if it's a realistic budget.
Right.
And so I'd love to break down a little bit about how the process kind of works, because, for example, you and I would have a drastically different relationship than just a customer redoing. For, if somebody was like, we want to redo our kitchen, that's a very different conversation than you and I, where I have a customer who wants to redo their kitchen and I'm going to install the kitchen cabinets and, countertop, whatever. I'm going to source basically everything, some from you, some not. And then my crew is going to do it. Whereas you, Flooring by Design, whatever, in the moment it's one umbrella, you can do the full service job. You kind of have in-house installers, I guess would be the
yes,
word.
we have our own installers that work for the company. They work for us. We don't subcontract them out. They are very loyal to us. They're very hardworking. We pay them back. We pay them back with the respect that they deserve from the work that they do for us, and I think that goes a long way.
And you guys have enough turnover to keep fully employed. Are they full or part-time?
They are full-time employees of ours. We have a total of about 7 or 8 contractors that work for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so you guys are doing substantial turnover then to keep 8 guys employed full-time.
And we have a great relationship with them. Communication is great, which is key in this kind of environment. And they do really great work for us.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't they? That's amazing, consistent work. I wish I had that much work to give, to my sheetrocker. But, he's happy doing my jobs when I need them. And then he has, other me's that he goes and does work for.
Right.
So if I'm sorry, I'm trying to think the right way to formulate this question. You could help a customer in any regard. Like if they came in and said, we've got a builder, he's going to put in our cabinets, you could still help them. If they had nobody and they needed you to do it turnkey, you could do that as well. And then working with builders like me, where you want to be kind of more on a supply side for me, you guys work all 3 of those umbrellas.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that always the case?
I believe so. I've been with the company for 4 months now. Okay. 4.5 months. So I'm still learning as well about the company. But like I said, I mean, it's all part of us being able to help everyone and work with everyone too.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting because there's a lot of customers, I think, that they would, or not customers, rather companies that would pick one of those 3 niches and really focus on it and let the other 2, whatever the decision may be, go by the wayside. And I think it's unique that you guys were like, no, we can figure it out. We'll work with you. We get a nice markup and pay our dudes if you want us to do it. Otherwise, we can sell you cabinets, have fun, or we'll sell them, to your builder. He'll figure it out. Whichever way is easier, because that just makes more ease and options for customers at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you said 4.5 months. What were you doing 5 months ago?
So 5 months ago, I was running my own personal training business.
Okay.
And being a mom full time to my 2 youngish kids.
Youngish.
Yeah, they're 12 and 14.
Okay.
So I had been doing that. I actually yesterday was my 11-year anniversary of moving to Chapel Hill.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So since I had moved to Chapel Hill, I had been focusing on my personal training business and my children Prior to that, I was working as a designer in New York City.
Oh, okay. So you you started in design, left it for a little bit,
Correct.
went into a personal training. Was that did something happen? Were you always into fitness? What was the change?
Yeah, I've always been into fitness. So I moved to New York City and lived there. I moved there when I was about 20. Lived there for 20 years. And the reason I had moved to New York City was because I was a dancer. I went to school in Boston, and I was discovered, I guess you could say.
Modern or point?
Jazz, tap, funk, theater, hip hop.
So everything but ballet.
Everything but ballet. I was trained in ballet, but I'm not a prima ballerina. 5 feet tall.
No, not exactly. Yeah, I tried telling that to an ex-girlfriend in college. She didn't want to hear it.
I did audition one time for the Rockettes because I was dared to. That was fun. That was interesting.
Well, okay. Did anybody put a thumbtack in your point shoe?
They told me to get off the stage.
Oh, that's the mental thumbtack. Yeah.
That was.
They were like, we don't need to put thumbtacks in your shoes. We can't see you.
Where are those legs?
Right. Isn't the Rockettes all like the leg kicks?
Yeah. So I quickly exited stage right.
Yeah. I would have the legs, but I would fall the first kick. I would just be like, there's no balance. Bye. Yeah.
And I could have been, but look at my balance.
Right.
Look how high I can kick my leg up. But yes, I understand. So fitness has always been a passion of mine. As a dancer, I worked through a lot of personal injuries and got through them with Pilates work. And
it's grueling. I don't know how
training.
I don't know how many listeners know the dancer life. Like I said, I dated one in college, so I'm more familiar than most. But it is insane, almost to the point of like, what? But why? Why are we doing this?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I did have an injury that ended my dance career when I was 25.
Okay.
And when I left, my plan was to go into physical therapy because I had gone to school for physical therapy prior to me moving to New York City. I did work in a physical therapy office after working as a patient in their office for a good year after my injury.
So you were a patient in this office.
I was a patient in the office.
Then became an employee working for them.
Correct.
And thought this could be you were like, this could be my jam.
Yes. And then quickly found out that it was not my jam.
Why? What happened? What was the quick find out?
It was a frustrating job to try and help people who didn't want to help themselves.
Oh, yeah, that would be tough. Yeah.
And I realized after not dancing that creativity was a big part of who I am, and I really needed to hone in on that. I had been doing a lot of things in New York City to help my friends get into their apartments and feel comfortable and fit comfortably in them and have them function properly for them. So I was moving furniture around, suggesting paint colors, putting up fake walls.
Being an interior designer divisions. Without knowing it.
So someone had said to me, you really should go to school for interior design. And I took that to heart, and I pulled together a portfolio of some of the places I had done in New York City for friends of mine, did some before and afters. And I was accepted at New York School of Interior Design. And that's where I studied. And then I practiced in New York for about 10 years.
Okay. Primarily doing what in New York?
Mostly residential. In Manhattan, outside of Manhattan, the 5 boroughs, Westchester, New Jersey, Connecticut, did work in those surrounding areas. Usually stemmed from my clients in Manhattan who had homes in other locations.
Okay. And were you like working for a larger organization, or were you a freelance like solo design company?
I started working for a very small firm. I started working with Keller Henderson Interiors. You should look him up. He's fantastic. That was great because it was just him and I. So I learned a tremendous amount from him of knowledge that I never would have gained in school because it really is a hands-on kind of job.
Yeah.
So I worked for him, and then I started going out on my own after being with him for a couple of years.
How like hard is it to keep up with everything new that gets produced as a designer? Because there's just like I know for me, from like a builder perspective, like even just the advancements in new types of foam, flooring, sheathing, there's just like, it's always getting bigger, better. There's always some new, some new screw that comes out. Now we don't need joist hangers or whatever. And
Sure.
like, it's my job to be on top of that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's times 10 in the design world because like, Simpson Strong Tie, they make all the ties. They just make all of them. Like, that's it. But there's 87 paint companies, all with 70,000 paint shades. And, or new countertops come out, or this new flooring company didn't exist last year. Not only do they now exist, but they have a new cork-based flooring or, something. And then, you have to get paperwork from them that says it will last this many years. And then in the back of their head, you go, well, your company's not even that many years old. How could you know that? And so you have to, it just seems like it's so much to juggle. And to me, that would be almost a full-time gig. Forget about having to talk to a client.
Sure. I mean, as a designer, we definitely have our expertise, but we rely heavily on our sales representatives too, who come in and show us the newest lines of fabric, of wallpaper, of flooring, of lighting.
Right. So you rely just as much on, Jane Doe from Mohawk Floor to come in with their newest floors and be like, oh, by the way, our staples are still here, but we came out with these 3 new products and here's the spec sheet on them. And here's why we like them.
They're all very educated in their field. And their job is to educate us and keep us on our toes too, as to what's trending, in terms of color and pattern or no pattern, large scale, small scale, things like that.
Okay. So now changing gears just a little bit, I'm curious, what makes somebody the right designer for somebody else? And more interesting to me, what makes somebody the wrong designer for somebody else? Because there's obviously like, there's a point where I need a job, I'll design it for you. Just like there's a point for me where it's like, I need a job, I'll build it for you. And then there's a point where it's like, I'm not so good at that, hire X. I'm really good at that, I'm your person. So like, do you have like, I don't want to use the word specialties because I'm sure you could handle everything, but do you have like the things that are more like, yes, if you like these kinds of colors and these kinds of patterns, I'm your person. If you don't, you need to hire this person who also works in our store.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a designer, we're all very well versed in all types of design styles, be it traditional, transitional, contemporary, modern. My least favorite style of design is traditional. I don't
elaborate, because I would know it if I saw it, but like what traditional being, like give me an example.
Sure, like very heavy wood, turned wood, larger scale furniture, lots of old time patterns. I mean, I am a big fan of William Morris.
Okay. Which is kind of what you're saying.
Which
you
is
don't
Art
like.
Nouveau, Art Deco. But when it comes to design, I like to use elements of traditional design, but I'm not a very traditional designer.
So you would like to highlight maybe a small accent, big piece of traditional wood instead
like
of doing the whole
Victorian chair
wall.
or and maybe upholster it in something that's a little more transitional or contemporary. I really love to mix and match.
So do you ever run into like the problem of like, you know, I really like it as in you, but the client is just like, what were you thinking? Like, this is not it. This is not at all like why I hired you. Does that How do you go about meeting in the middle?
Well, that's a communication issue. So first and foremost, that's right up front. Communication is key, and really kind of diving into what you're looking for verbally and visually too. I always have my clients do a little homework before we meet. I'll have them kind of go through some magazines and pick out things that they like and things that they don't like and why.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a full room scheme that I'm looking for, but they like the lighting in the corner, or the color of this chair, or the height of the ceilings, or the open space, or the small intimate space. Colors. I like to also go through people's wardrobes and see what kind of colors they're attracted to.
You would not like designing for me. I have 3 colors.
Gray, black, and white.
Gray, black, and dark navy.
Okay.
They bounce the best with my orange logo. So I just got 10 of each color shirt.
You do have that accent color, so that's definitely something. Those colors we can work with.
Oh, I know you can work with it. It's just probably I would not be the most fun you had for a client. That's for sure. Yeah.
There are so many different versions of those colors, though. You never know.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. We could just do an accent wall with different shades of orange. Just
exactly.
The whole wheel.
Do stripes. I'm a big fan of stripes.
Ooh, as long as they're horizontal.
Horizontal. Yeah. Big fan of horizontal stripes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thin the room.
Yeah. But if there is, if that ever happens between a designer and a client, I think one of them wasn't just being as upfront as they needed to be, or someone was just kind of taking over with their ideas.
So is it
it's
hard?
Not about you. It's not about the designer. It's really about the client.
So is that hard for you sometimes to not put a lot of you in it? Because like you're creative.
Mm-hmm.
You left a completely different job because you realized you had a creative itch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're just pulling a dude who specializes in computers out and we're like, hey, design this. Like you have a style, a flair that is your own thing. So you would hope and think in an idealistic situation that somebody is like, oh, I love her flair and style.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to design something for me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sometimes you have to read more in terms of the client and less in terms of you. Is that difficult ever sometimes?
Not necessarily. I don't really find it difficult. I mean, I find beauty in almost everything, and I know that I could make a space beautiful no matter what the requirements are or the limitations around it. But if I feel like there is a designer who is better for the job, I will no doubt recommend that person, because really in the end, I truly feel like it's about the client.
Yeah. I mean, we were in the service industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're waiters for your house.
Right,
so
right.
you have to be,
fancy butlers.
We're fancy butlers. Yeah. I mean, I've come across it a few times where like, they'll want to do something with the deck staircase. And I'm just like, look, you're going to pay me to build it and I'll do it, but it's wrong. Like, I'm sorry, it needs to be on the left, or that, whatever the example may be. Mm-hmm. But, at least in the circumstance I just fictionally described, it's not an opinion, it's a right and wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's harder for me to be like, okay, you're just simply incorrect. Like 2 + 2 does not equal 5. Like, it's not a matter of you like red more or you like green more. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, cool. You can argue that out over who's going to spend the most time in that room. For me, a lot of times it's like, no. We need more lumber there. Like, so it's going to fall over, So it can be harder for me. So that's why I was very curious, because design is a lot less black and white than like this deck needs X or it will fall over. Right. That's very black and white. That's like, I'll not put it, but it won't pass code. Like it will not pass the inspection versus design is like, okay, we've passed the inspections. Now we're talking about what wall color I have to stare at for the rest of my life or 20 years until I paint it again.
Right.
That has there's a lot more leeway on the why. And then also one could argue that it has a lot more effect on the person. Like the bolts I put underneath your deck don't affect you. You don't care. You don't look at them. You don't wake up every day and go, oh, great day. Those deck bolts make me smile. Nobody gives a crap. But when I wake up most mornings and I look at my palette wall, that makes me smile. I think about the work I put into it. I stare at the knots and the perfectly lined up nails. And I think about how much fun my boy Marcus and I had doing it. And that's a completely different situation. Adds no structure to my house. Doesn't help my house at all.
Right.
Only helps the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very different.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's all the more what you're talking about of like, it really just has to be focused on the client. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a house becomes a home arguably through the interior design more than how good the sheetrock is.
Absolutely.
You know, that's where we transition it into. This isn't just a building. Now it's a home. It has a character. It has your character. You know, it has the client's character with a little bit of you in there. But hopefully it's 90-10.
Right.
Yeah.
Guiding them. I'm guiding them in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you come across that example where you've just been like, we've been working for a week. I'm the wrong designer. You need to talk to Jeff or whoever it is.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Is it hard in the moment? I know looking back, you're like, I made the right choice for them. They needed this person. It's all about the client. And you know, but in that moment, is it frustrating? Is it a loss of money?
I don't find it frustrating because it's all about progress. And if we're not moving forward, to getting anything done, then I'd rather stop trying to convince someone because my Convincing isn't doing the right job. Then maybe you need to work with someone else.
Right.
Like someone that is more in tune with your vision.
That makes sense. Yeah. How does it work? Like, and if you don't have like the exact numbers, that's completely fine. But like financially, how does it work? And at what point, you know, I'm sure there's different options, but on average, at what point does somebody come to you and financially, like, is it, okay, we have a kitchen, we're about to gut it, we want to redesign everything. It's, you know, you charge X per square foot, or like it's $1,000 up front to design. Like what's like a general way that works?
Well, I do start by asking them if they have a budget that we can work with. And for the most part, people do not.
Yes, I've noticed that as well.
It's not something that they think about.
No.
They want to spend some money.
Yeah.
But they don't know how much they want to spend.
A lot of people come to me and they want me to price something from their head. And then they want to compare that to just a random number that they think it should cost. And I'm like, first of all, it's impossible to price something from your head. I need real choices because, as we mentioned earlier, there's 3 or even 4 price levels of cabinets that basically look and operate the same way. Right. And then, you know, you could buy tile for 80 cents a square foot or $8 a square foot. Or $15. You can get some imported marble from Italy if you wanted to. You know, you can do it all in gold for all I care, and it's going to cost more money. So it's basically impossible. And then also, if I say it's 10K and they're like, oh, I had 7,000 in my head. Well, where'd you get that? Like, you're not in the industry. Was 7,000, like, is there a line of credit that maxes at 7,000? Right. Did somebody 8 years ago redo their kitchen in a different economy and you think it should be the same? Like, where's the knowledge base coming from? And 99% of the time, it's from somebody not in the industry that doesn't have a correct knowledge base. Or even worse, it's from like a TikTok. And they're like, well, I saw on TikTok you
They
could
did
swap
it for $1,000.
Yeah, they swapped out a tub in a day for $800. I'm like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. They just didn't. The tub was $1,000. They did not. Like, it's just a lie. Also, it took a week, and you didn't see all the tile demo. Like, just like false, incorrect.
But there are some great resources out there so people can be prepared for such meetings, and they should be prepared for that question. You can go to builders.com. You can look up your square footage of your kitchen to see how much that might cost. So it is good to have an about number in your head when you're walking in.
Yeah, well, I think more importantly, everything you just said is very important. But I think more importantly, personally as a client, you need to know what you can simply afford.
Exactly.
Like, you need to know, like, it's irrelevant what it costs. I don't have more than X amount to spend on a kitchen. And if it's significantly more, we need to not do it.
Right.
Or we need to do it in phases. Or we need to maybe,
just do something different.
Just do something different.
Like not get new cabinets and paint them.
Right.
Or put some new hardware on.
Right.
Like, if your cabinets are in good condition, and you're looking to save money, I'm not going to tell you that you need a whole new kitchen.
It's an incredible thing you just said, because there are, up until a year ago, I would never tell anybody to paint their cabinets. And now I've met 2 companies that I have seen with my own eyes that make cabinets after they paint them look like brand new cabinets.
Yes.
And it is incredible.
Is it SprayNet by chance?
SprayNet is one.
Yes.
We met them together, I think, at the Blue
Sarah
Olive.
And Josh, I believe.
Yes, they actually came on the podcast, the 2 of them together.
Oh.
Yeah, Josh is like, him and his dad run the franchise, and Sarah's kind of like the boots on the ground salesperson.
Yes.
Shout out to both of them. Yeah. They're fantastic. And then also Apex Cabinets. Apex Painting, maybe. I can't remember, and I feel bad that I'm not shouting them out. But her, who I also forgot her name, she came on the podcast. Her episode will drop in a couple of weeks. That's all they do. That's all they do is they do cabinets, and it's like it's truly now an option that I'm like comfortable telling people, because I'm like, look, you putty those holes, you get a whole new paint job. You spend $200 on new hardware, go from a single knob to a big handle, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You can really change it up.
Put some lighting in where it needs
put
to
the
be.
money into a countertop or a backsplash on the same countertop. Like, you can really change half the stuff and make it look like you changed everything.
And they're, cabinets are built to last.
Yeah, if you don't have a leak,
right.
If you don't have rot in your cabinets, there's absolutely no reason. Like,
and if you're not changing the footprint.
That's a big key too. Yeah,
right.
yeah. There's circumstantial to everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're happy with your space and your footprint, it's almost dumb, because you can even buy like the fancy Rev-A-Shelf hardware without a new box. For those who are listening, we got 2 technical terms. The box is the physical box that you're seeing on the outside, and then when we say hardware, we mean the handle or cabinet pull. And then, but even like the drawer, you're not going to get a new box, but you could get a new glide that becomes a soft close.
Yep.
So you could upgrade that without having to change. You can add the little soft close.
And that's something you can do yourself.
You could do yourself. There's a little, you can keep your door and your box and your hinge, and then add a piece to the hinge that makes the cabinet door soft close as well as the drawers.
And there's ways to organize your cabinets better, the interior cabinets.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned the Rev-A-Shelf.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of cabinet companies, at least the one that we use from South Carolina, they work with Rev-A-Shelf. So we'll order our cabinet and it will come assembled, finished, hardware, and it will have a soft close, and it will have the Rev-A-Shelf hardware for the garbage. But you can buy just the hardware and take an existing cabinet that's installed and install that Rev-A-Shelf and have a cool soft close pull out garbage. Like you can really do all those upgrades.
The bells and whistles.
Yeah, exactly.
Of your kitchen.
You can really get the bells. And then you mentioned lighting. That's huge. The under cabinet LED is so fun now.
Yes.
Very easy to install.
So easy to install.
Yeah, an electrician, couple $100. Like it's
and everyone needs to have under cabinet lighting.
Yeah. I put it in so long ago, I don't remember what it was like without it. And most of the time, it's on and all my other lights are off because it's enough light where I'm like, oh, that's really all I need. And then if I'm like cooking, I put the other lights on.
Yeah.
But it's a game changer, and is like if you leave it on at night, you don't really burn your bill. It can almost be a night light. Mine dims. It's totally
dimmers are key.
Yeah, and nowadays they come in colored options. I mean, you could get the little remote and turn it into blue and have a party light. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's truly incredible.
But speaking of dimmers, like this is like one little tip that I tell everyone: just put a dimmer on every single light switch in your home. Yep. It makes a huge difference.
It is not even that much difference in money.
Right.
Like
it's
you
not
still
at all.
need the wires the same.
Yep.
You still need the box and you still need a light switch. So if the light switch is, I don't know, what's a shaker one going for? $7.99. The one with the built-in dimmer is $11.99.
Right.
Like, yes, times 20 switches adds up, but it's not in the scheme of your house build versus the life lived without dimmer versus life with dimmer. You're going to be happy you spent that money.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. I put in three sets of 4 lights, all with dimmers, LED recessed. Game changer.
Yep.
Just complete game changer. It's
great for setting a mood. It's great for ambiance. It's great.
It's great if you really need it that bright. Kill it all the way up. Put it all the way up, and you can find the dropped earring back.
Right.
Like whatever it might be.
Right.
It
You're
really
cleaning. You need,
Totally.
But you don't always need those bright lights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to dim them down, especially, is key. Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. Well, okay. Well, let's dive into some other awesome, like, key designs that we can say are pretty universal. Obviously, your colors, your cabinet door, that's not universal. That's very much your thing. But the under cabinet lights, doesn't matter if you're going modern or rustic or farm, that's a good move.
Yes.
So what are some other just no-brainer great moves that we could tell some listeners?
Well, task lighting is important too. Just throughout the house, just having little areas that are lit with a small table lamp or a floor lamp. That makes a huge difference in your life. And organizational skills.
My favorite skill.
Because I think everyone loves their yes, you're very organized. I did notice. I love an organized home, but everyone's always really happy with their first, brand newly installed kitchen or floors, and it slowly tends to dissipate with clutter.
I've never understood that.
Right.
Figure it out.
And there are so many things now that can help you organize, from reading material to actual pieces to organize your drawers.
To Tammy Keach, the organizing psycho I had on my podcast. Yeah. Or no, she didn't say organizing psycho. She said something equally funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Organizers are like my favorite people.
Well, you'd love Tammy. This is what she brought a lazy Susan. She was like, this is my favorite thing. She brought a lazy Susan. She was like, we put this in every corner cabinet. So you could see your toys. You could see this. I put them in the fridge for condiments. I was like, that's so smart.
Yeah.
She brought one to show. I was like, we don't have a video, but that's awesome. Yeah.
Here's my lazy Susan from home.
Yeah. I mean, I met her, of all places, at the Container Store.
Oh, that's
which is just paradise for me.
And her too.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure. And she probably could have guided you through the whole store as to
I mean,
what you need.
she literally, I was there with my girlfriend Jen, who needed help. And I was like, well, we're going to look at one of 4 areas. I already know where to go. And then we ran into Tammy in one of the areas. And Tammy was like, you should also look at this 5th area. And we were like, she's right. And we were walking.
Is there a hidden area?
No,
in the
it's not a
store I don't know about.
There's definitely not a hidden area. Yeah, there's a dungeon underneath the cashier register.
I knew it. I knew it.
It's where they lock up interior designers.
It's their little container store.
Yeah. All the containers are oddly people-sized. Strange. But no, literally, we walked away to go take her advice, and I pulled a Yui, and I was like, hey, I'm a contractor. Here you go. She was like, I need a contractor. I was like, everybody does. Also, come on my podcast and talk about organizing. And she was like, here's my card. And yeah, we had a great episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was, I wear my OCD that presents itself as a need to be clean and organized super proudly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in my house right now. To me, it's very dirty. Like, I need to clean the baseboards and mop, but to the regular person, it's spotless. So it's like there's levels, and I'm like, I've got no problem being OCD about cleaning and sterilizing stuff. And yes, I deassemble the fridge once a month and wipe it all out. Like, why not? Like, you're gonna tell me that nothing has ever spilt in your fridge once, ever? You've never had some stuff on the edge of a Tupperware get into the crack of that glass shelf?
Right.
Drives me nuts.
We all know it's there. But we want to ignore it.
I can't ignore it.
Like, you can just close the door. No, I can't ignore it either.
No, I can't. See, I can't fully relax.
Same here.
Like, there's no more relaxed Corbett than I just spent 2.5 hours cleaning my house, and I am so relaxed. I'm like, okay, it's ready. I'm ready to take a shower and sit on the couch and enjoy the freshly vacuumed couch and smell a little bit of cleaning product and Simple Green and a little bleach from the bathroom, and just be like, ah.
Sometimes your house is like your brain.
Yeah.
Right?
You mean insane and cluttered? No,
well, when it's feeling disorganized, we all have a harder time in life, I feel like. And when your home is disorganized, it's sometimes hard to get through.
I could not agree more. And I think that the majority of people who fit into the category of messy, unorganized, don't even realize that they are waking up at 90% instead of 100%.
They're doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah, and that 10%. We could do this across the board with so many things.
Right.
If you're drinking soda, or you're not drinking enough water, or you're eating some unhealthy food, it doesn't affect you that meal that day, but it compounds over time, and all of a sudden you're just thinking this is everyday life, when in fact you're at 80% of optimal, and you have inflammation in your joints because of the junk food, or you're mentally not there because you didn't get enough sleep, because you had too much sugar cereal, and all of that compounds. And I think there's absolutely no difference in regards to the mental health and how well maintained and healthy and happy your home is. 100%.
And speaking of those tips, those designer tips, that is one thing that I always push people to do when I'm in their home and they're thinking of replacing all their flooring. Have you thought of reorganizing before we pull up the floor? Because you do have to remove everything from the floor, right? And you have to remove all the small electronics and everything on all surfaces. So while you're doing that,
think about the things you're moving.
Think about the things that you're moving. Do you actually need them?
Yeah.
Where do they best belong?
That's huge. How often do you use them?
How often do you use them?
Yeah.
Is it something that you love?
Like, if you love something and you can't live without it, but you simply use it once a year, it does not need to be center on your cabinet.
Right.
It could be in the back of a closet, and you break it out once a year.
Yeah. So I always recognize going into a situation where we're literally pulling up everyone's floors, how disrupting it can be.
Yeah, it's very disrupting because you don't think about how much stuff
you
takes
actually
on,
have.
especially on the floor space, like
Right.
furniture. Like, where do I put the kit? Where do I physically put the living room couch for 2 weeks?
Mhm.
Like that's sometimes impossible. I remember we were refinishing my parents' wood floors, and they were away. They were out of the country for like 2 or 3 months. They were in Mexico, and
That's a good place to be when you're having your floors refinished. Yes.
oh yeah, well they do winters in Mexico. They're retired. They've worked very long and hard, and they've earned it. And they do winters in Mexico. It helps with my mom's walking and balance issues. But I came home from school break, or came home from school for winter break to my home because my room was fine. But I walk in and all the living room furniture is shoved into my parents' bedroom. It looked like a rat pack storage unit. It was hysterical. I opened the door for 2 seconds and it was like, you can't go in this room. There's no space. There's a chair on a couch on a table, like leaned against their bed. Like the mattress was to the side. Like it was hysterical. I had never seen anything like it. And I was like, oh yeah, well this is what you got to do because we're sanding, 1,500 square feet of hardwood floor.
While you're going through that process, why not try and eliminate some things?
Yeah, that part didn't happen. I wished that had happened.
Yeah.
I do have a better story about the eliminating part. I had a client. We did a successful project. Chris Overcash actually blessed me with his time and coming on the podcast to talk about the experience. Finished his attic out. He bought a house where they ran the rough-in plumbing to the attic, but didn't finish it out. Mm-hmm. And when I went there for the first time, it was so full, it was difficult to measure the room, just to walk with the tape measure. And it was like you could see, toys his kids had outgrown, right, piles of clothes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you already know, but I have to say it. This has to be empty. He was like, we're already ordering a dumpster next week. Like, don't worry about it. I came back 2 weeks later. A 40-yard dumpster was to the brim.
Whoa.
Packed full.
I mean, it's crazy how much stuff we accumulate over the years. And I think it's even crazier how much of it we feel like we really need to keep.
Which is very little in reality.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Minimalism is a great, what did you need? You could just say it.
Your blanket.
Oh, you want the blanket now? Oh, okay. We're going to pause and get the blanket. Okay, and we're back, and we're warmer.
I am,
okay,
yes.
Great.
I'm very cozy.
Cozy. All right, there we go.
So going back to the organizing tip, like I like to tell people before they get into a big project in their house to hire an organizer, or if you're a DIYer, there's so many books out there that you can read. There's podcasts, there's videos on how to organize. And it really is such an easy process. And it also allows you to think more clearly about how you want your space to function best for you.
Yeah. And I think it's even more compoundingly important if you have a multi-purpose space.
Yes.
Like if a room is, off of the kitchen and is half a playroom, half an office, and, that you really need to think, okay, that's doable, but not if we're just going to plop a table in the middle and say, have fun. Like, let's get some cubbies. Let's get some labels. Like, label maker.
Labels, yes.
Oh, I love my label maker so much.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I take it to heart with my tools. I have a case that has a giant foam block, and then I traced and cut out my drill and my thing of drill bits, so it never moves and jumbles. It's always exactly where I left it. If it's not, somebody touched it. Like everything goes back in the same place in the truck. Mm-hmm. I have this thing zip tied to the back of the front seat, so when you're in the back seat, there's like 6 zippered compartments that all have different types of hand tools depending on what I need. So it's like everything's always in the same spot. I never waste time looking for something.
Right.
If I'm missing a tool, I ask my worker, hey, you got my crowbar? He's like, no, oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I bet you do, because it's not exactly where I left it. So like, it can be annoying the first time you work with me, But the second, third, fourth, and fifth time, you realize we've saved an hour not looking for a tool, not being like, oh, I thought it was left side, it's right side. No. It's in the same spot every time. Take it from that spot, put it back in that spot. Don't screw with my shit. Like, these tools are expensive.
Yes.
You know, and it's no different for a mom and her child's toys.
Right.
It's no different for a mom, a dad, and I don't care who you are. If you have a home office where your paper is, your printer is, your pens, it may be a different scale of cost, but it's just as important. It's your stuff. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be clean and organized. It needs to be safe, especially if we're talking about young children. You know, these are a lot of factors that unfortunately are not thought of till the moment comes when you have to think about it.
Right. And even your bedroom, just as important, because you really want
mean?
a space where you can physically shut down. Right. So being able to shut down is having everything in its place where it's meant to be. So I really find the bedroom to be an important place to be organized and have everything where you need it to be at the time. Like, you know, your nightstand tables and your little accent lamp by the bed and your reading chair and your socks all organized in a nice
your
little drawer
chapstick.
And it's and your water glass.
Yeah, you gotta, if whatever you need there. You know, for me, my nightstand table's super small, but I have 7 things that I made a special wood block holder for.
There you go.
So it's like TV remote, Apple TV remote, chapstick. You know, there's a pocket knife or whatever, and then there's a little phone charger, and like there's a gap between the two for a water bottle, and that's it.
Yeah,
like it's.
And they're not strewn all over the place.
Exactly.
Looking for them in a drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the junk drawer. I don't think that's a thing. That's an excuse.
Yeah.
You know, my junk drawer has like stuff I find to be more of a utility. Like my junk, what people call a junk drawer, like you open my junk drawer and it just happens to have like the duct tape, the packet of COVID tests, a couple of pens, an extra straw for my water bottle, and like a thing of ibuprofen that I don't want to stare at on the counter. Well, but it's not full of like rubber bands from food and like one back of a random piece of jewelry and like chargers to devices I don't own anymore. No, we're not existing in that realm. I
have a funny story. So we do have a junk drawer.
You're fired. Podcast over.
That exists in our kitchen. But it doesn't exist because of me. It exists because of my family. So I actually organized this junk drawer one time and put all of the things, all the necessary things that were in there where the kids knew they were and they still needed to access them. But, you know, I labeled them, put them in bags, put them in, you know, little holders for them. And my son Asher came home one day and he opened the drawer and he's like, Mom, where's the junk drawer? I'm like, you're looking at it. He's like, no, Mom.
It's not chaos.
This
I need the chaos.
is not the drawer for you to organize, Mom. We're leaving it as a junk drawer. I said, nope, not acceptable. He's like, this is not acceptable.
I remember being the you as a kid organizing my parents' junk drawer.
Oh, nice.
Like I remember because before we redid the kitchen, there was like this right above the garbage pullout was one drawer, and it was the junk drawer. It always had the super thick purple rubber bands that came on the broccoli stems. 20 of them. We never needed a rubber band. I don't know why we kept them. And just pens, chargers, the scissors, markers. I don't know, just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember one day, on more than one occasion for that matter, just pulling everything out and being like, okay, I don't have permission to throw anything out, but let's at least like put the pens on the left and stack this and then be like, this pen has no cap and doesn't write. I could throw that one out. Like, yeah, but it's just like,
that feel good?
It's like 10-year-old Corb.
Yeah.
You know, also that same stacked cabinet was the only piece of our kitchen that had a mosaic tile on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the grout would get so dirty.
From all the dust.
Just from everything.
Yeah.
And I remember one day taking like scissors and just scraping all of the grout because it was so dirty. I was like, I hate looking at this. And I like scraped it all out. And I was like, look what I did. And they were like, that's incredible. We'll go get some grout filler. And I can't believe you did that. And I was like, well, how were we looking at this for so long?
Did you not notice this? Nope.
Yep.
Didn't notice it.
Didn't notice.
Wasn't a priority.
No. It
but
wasn't.
for you, it was definitely something on your brain.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things where, hey, Mom, I need fill in the blank. And she'd go, oh, it's in the junk drawer. We even called it the junk drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not unique, but it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It should be so rare that it is like, what? You have a junk drawer?
Yeah. We will get there, Corbett.
I mean, we're going to start a movement right
I
now.
think we're going to start a movement.
Yeah. I even organized a friend's tools. They were gifted. It was actually my girlfriend, throwing you under the bus, Jen. Sorry. But she had been gifted one of these sets from her dad where it's like this giant plastic case.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like each tool has its little inset spot.
Yep.
And like that's cute and cool and looks good on the shelf at Lowe's, but the reality of like the size of that case versus all the tools that you could just hold in like your hands, like that, I was like, you need a tool bag. Like that case is garbage. So I was like, you know what? I'll just buy you a tool bag. Bought her a tool bag, and I also bought her one of those 6-compartment small part organizers.
Yeah.
And I was like, all those Ziploc bags you have of random nuts and bolts from random projects, dump them all in a pile.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, 80% of it, throw all that away. These are garbage. Here's what you need to keep. And, oh, by the way, here's your bag with, it fits the organizer and your drill and all those tools, and it takes up half the space.
You're a very good boyfriend.
I was like, this just needs to be done.
Yes.
It was just one of those things.
For your own mental
It was totally for
health.
me. Yeah, it was totally for me.
But I do have to say, everyone, that, I know we're really pushing this, but we can both say how amazing it feels when you're done.
Yeah.
And how much more clearly you can think, and you just don't have as much clutter in your house, and you don't have as much clutter in your brain.
Yeah. And then also, like, you can look at an area and be like, okay, I organized it. And it's full. So now you can flick a switch in your head and go, maybe I don't need any more of that thing.
Right.
And this could be applied in any many realms of things. But the thing you collect. Oh, I'm out of shelves. Put up more shelves. Or just don't buy any more pet frog or frog figurines or whatever the hell it is.
Keys.
Yeah. Like, the gun safe is full. Maybe you have enough guns. Like, pick the thing. It's irrelevant.
Right.
Like, for me, I have a issue with tools, but I need them for a living. Like, other than the garage full of tools, I like to think I'm kind of a minimalist. But other than the garage full of tools, well, I need the tools. Like, I can't show up and not have the tool.
Right.
Like, that's different.
And besides, they're all organized.
They are very organized in crates and labels. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My shop is perfect. Yeah. It doesn't even look like stuff happens in there. It's so clean. But that's the way I keep it.
But it does, people. It really does.
Yeah. And also,
like,
I'm the type of dude that, like, if we're done at 6, let's say we're building a deck and we're going to finish at 6, we're done at 5:30 and we're cleaning up for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. We are not done at 6 and too tired to pick up the spare pieces. Yeah. That's no. It's not how it works.
Because it really does make it a nightmare for the next day and for starting again.
But it also looks bad.
It looks bad too.
But also, like, if we're using my $600 chop saw, we're gonna blow it off. We're gonna take 4 seconds to get the air compressor out and blow off, a pound of sawdust before we pack it up and fold up the legs and put it back in the van. Like, that's the standard for me. And I'm not even shitting on somebody. I know lots of guys who just don't do it.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's 5:58. Let's clean up. And then you're like using your iPhone light to try to get, it's too dark to see in the blades of grass for all the little tags on the ends of lumber. No, incorrect procedure. Like,
processes for everything.
Yeah. And, I don't think there's an example of someone being like, oh, it's very unattractive. He's too clean. That's never been said.
It's never been said.
No, it's always the slob that's unattractive. and someone's attracted to them because they're a great musician or whatever, but and they're like, well, it's part of the creative process. Bullshit. He could just do his laundry at the same time. Not that hard, but our brains are clearly wired the same in that way, where to us, it's like, not only is it not that hard, to us, it's just the way it should be.
Right.
So in fact, the other way seems harder. Of like, what do you mean you didn't fold your clothes right when they came out of the dryer? What did you do with them?
Right.
What else were you doing? Like, oh, you were watching a movie? Why were you not just folding them at the same time? Every time. I dump them on the dining room table. Oh, the TV. Boom, 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 boom. Fold it. 2 seconds. To me, it's just like, to me, doing laundry, the task that's included in the task. Like some people think of, oh, I did laundry. So I put clothes in a washer. I moved them to the dryer. I hit start. I'm done. Like, no. The task of doing laundry involves wiping down the washer, finishing with the dryer, throwing the lint away, folding and putting away everything, hanging up the basket. Now we're done with laundry. Like there's just this, it's just a different step. Yeah. Well, this was awesome. For those listening, shout out once again, where's the showroom?
So Flooring by Design in North Durham on North Roxborough Street. We are a full flooring, kitchen, and bath showroom. You can find everything that you need. Anything that you step on, we carry and can provide for you. Yeah,
you really can just find everything. And I want to reiterate that, like, it doesn't matter what your price point is. They will show you top of the line, gorgeous. They will show you some mid-range, some low range. They will make it work in your budget.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then the easiest way for people to find you.
Well, you can go on our website, which is flooringbydesignNC.com. You can find my bio on there with my email address, and you can find out a little bit about me and what my focus is or what have you, or how my design style can relate to what you're doing. Yeah, you can email me, call me. You can find all that information on the website.
Awesome.
flooringbydesignNC.com.
flooringbydesignNC.com. And no special spelling, right? Just flooring by design, BY.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool.
Yes.
And as always, the Orange Hammer podcast is on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Corb at WSTG.com, 845-489-6057. Call me, email me, come on the podcast, hire me for all your GC work, all of the above. And as always, thanks for listening. And just thank you so much for coming. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I know we had to rearrange it a few times. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Corbett. I appreciate it too.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.